everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome back to Royal Clan in ClanGen, the Warrior Cats clan generator game. When we left off in the previous episode, we had a new match in the grotto, which I'm very excited for. The clan leader elevated one of our servants to nobility, Magpie, who is currently in the clearing, with Frostfade, one of the cats that actually made a good impression on her, quite far away from Bearpelt, who made a terrible impression and continued to do so during patrols, when he kind of left her trapped under a bunch of branches that fell on top of her. But Magpie is a very, very pretty cat, and she has been matched up with Flailstorm, the king's right hand, who I think is getting a little bit of privileges from the king, because the king is trying to improve their relationship, their working relationship with one another. But okay guys, let's jump straight to the leader's den and see what happens, because I'm kind of excited to see whether or not Magpie is going to be as, ambitious and quick as Inkfeather in terms of having kittens, or if she's going to take time like Flarefreckle did. Because I don't know if you guys remember, Inkfeather, within a moon, she was pregnant and ready to go. So, I don't know, but we shall go ahead and have a look. First up, we need to roll the dice to see how King Fernstar and Flailstorm are going to handle the next gathering. Okay, I got a 7 on the D10, which is Storm Clan, and I got a 7 on the D8, which is Praise. Okay, so he's feeling good. They're in a good mood right now. Let's skip a moon and see what happens. Flailstorm compliments Storm Clan's newest warriors at the gathering. Storm Clan relations have improved. Flarefreckle is no longer suffering from a heat stroke. Frostfade found a patch of flowering catmint. No one else is around, so he bends down and takes a big bite. Youch, a bee. He comes home with a swollen face. Okay, this is not good. Frostfade, I am not sure if he's going to be able to do patrols, but we didn't have any birth or death notices, so it seems as though Magpie is still taking a little bit of her time to get to know. Maybe she's the type of cat who likes to get to know her mate before, they get serious and kittens come into the picture. Very different to Inkfeather. But, okay, Frostfade. He does have that bee sting, but he can still go out on patrols, which is really good. And everyone else, including Flarefreckle, seem to be in a good mood. Fernstar, of course, is still in mourning for his daughter, so he's going to be out of it for a bit. Medicine Cat 10, let's dive over here and see what's going on. King Fernstar was given Thyme as treatment for grief-stricken. Flarefreckle was given Juniper as treatment for heat stroke, and then she recovered from heat stroke. Icicle Speck gathered Daisy, Marigold, and Wild Garlic this moon. Now let's see how everyone's going in relationships. During rough weather, Ghostpaw helps King Fernstar get safely to his den. Look at him, being a good support for his father. Flailstorm won't tell King Fernstar what he finds so funny. I feel like my voice is so weird right now. I don't know what's going on with it, honestly. It's going up and down and all sorts of things. Yikes. Scorchmoss stumbles upon Ghostpaw looking at the stars with wonder in his eyes. During a conversation with Bearpelt, Scorchmoss says something too bluntly. Icicle Speck learns that Scorchmoss is scared of thunder too. Icicle Speck hears Quillrunner laugh at a clanmate's joke, even though it was lame. Icicle Speck and Shining Stripe snuck out of camp together. Okay, these two, who haven't been getting along too well recently, because of Icicle Speck's wandering eyes, Shining Stripe getting more and more disenfranchised with him, I guess they found a moment to themselves, maybe to reignite their relationship. Foxpaw says he hopes Flailstorm has a nice day. Though Flailstorm has been unhappy with Quillrunner, Flailstorm helps him with something. Shining Stripe greets his sister Flarefreckle as she's exiting the warrior's den. Shining Stripe and Ghostpaw agree about something trivial. Flarefreckle and Bearpelt notice a cloud is shaped like a bird, so some brother-sister bonding. Ghostpaw's good morning to Flarefreckle meant a lot to her. So mentor and apprentice, again, getting along very well. I feel like they've adjusted nicely to their dynamic. They've developed a dynamic. Even though Flarefreckle was initially hesitant. But Ghostpaw, his sister was the troublemaker, right? Ghostpaw is the daring one. Right, and then she's playful. Okay. But they are working together very well. Flare Freckle gave Bear Pelt a gift that doesn't make any sense. Okay, some brother-sister interaction. Not the best one, but still something. Bear Pelt appreciates how Ghostpaw always seems to ask how he's doing. Ghostpaw challenges Magpie to a race. Okay, she's getting to know some more of the cats within the clan, which is nice. I don't think she's had a single negative interaction so far, so she's been settling in very well. King Fernstar gets a bug off of Inkfeather's pelt and takes it out of camp. Okay, so I think I had this hope in the last episode that, or was it the episode before? I think it was the last one, that now that Inkfeather is in the king's court, hopefully, because they have to spend more time working together, their relationship is going to improve. And for whatever reason, I guess Fernstar is feeling a little bit heroic today, which I think Inkfeather would just love. Inkfeather is surprised to hear Ghostpaw express an ideal she can agree with. Okay, so some mother-son bonding with her favorite son. Cool Runner notices one of his friends talking to Inkfeather. Frostfade had a disagreement with King Fernstar about something or other. Ooh, I wonder if they had a disagreement about Foxpaw. Maybe Frostfade as his mentor has something in mind, and Fernstar as his father has something else in mind. I think we were talking at the end of the last episode about how Frostfade kind of doesn't care about, I mean, he does, but like he's not affected so much by the ambush that has happened recently. And what I mean by that is he is not afraid because of the ambush, and he's not going to do his training in a way that is like extra safe, or it's like against his adventurous nature. He is kind of sticking to his guns, right? And so he took Foxpaw out on a hunting patrol with just the two of them. Whereas I think Fernstar, he, having already lost a daughter, probably wasn't happy with that because he doesn't want to risk his son getting into trouble, getting into a problem and potentially being killed. He would rather Frostfade take his son on the bigger patrols and let some of the other warriors take the smaller ones. So I think they're having a disagreement about his like teaching technique. King Fernstar makes a small sacrifice that benefits Foxpaw. Look at that. And I wonder if this is King Fernstar. The sacrifice he's making maybe is being convinced by Frostfade or giving into Frostfade, because when he maybe went to speak to his son, he realized how much fun his son had and how much he learned from the last patrol. So he's kind of choosing to sacrifice his own feelings on the matter so that his son can thrive, his favorite son. Shining Stripe compliments Ghostpaw on something he had worked very hard on, which is quite nice. And that is all we have for events, so let me cut the recording here and we'll continue with the cat list. Okay, time for us to continue with the cat list. First up, we have loyalties, where nothing at all has changed. Everything is still the same as before. Now going into our relationship panels, I did notice some things that I noted down. So first up, King Fernstar, guys, has had a romance gain with his mate Inkfeather, who is also the matchmaker. So the king's consort is also the matchmaker, and he was feeling a little bit heroic today. There was a bug on her fur, he took it off and threw it outside of camp, and funnily enough, for Inkfeather, I don't think anything much changed. I mean, she's already in love with him. If anything, it would have made her fawn over him even more, but not too significant a change. Whereas for Fernstar, who's, currently, he's not in love with Inkfeather, he doesn't view this as anything more than a formal match that he has been sticking to, interestingly enough, probably because it's convenient, but he was feeling a little bit heroic. Yeah, I don't know what brought that change in him, but I mean, maybe he was wanting some comfort from Inkfeather because, he's still going through his grief and all of that. Maybe he wanted someone to connect to, and the only other cat that would understand is obviously his mate and consort, right? Who was also the mother of Houndpaw. That was one thing I noticed. There was nothing too significant with Flailstorm. Also, did I go through both of his panels? I think I did. Icicle Speck was the other one that I noticed. Guys, Icicle Speck has fallen in love with Shining Stripe. with Shining Stripe. It took him forever to get here, and he definitely took a lot of detours, looked at a lot of other cats, had crushes on them, unresolved feelings and such. But finally, I think at the most unexpected time, when Shining Stripe and Icicle Speck snuck out of the camp for a patrol together, suddenly he kind of realized that he was in love with Shining Stripe when he came back. It's something that I think had been creeping up on him and only hit him now. Except, I don't know whether it is too late for him or not, because Shining Stripe, guys, he didn't fall in love. He didn't have any romance gain. His feelings are still the same as it was after the big fight they had. So it's wild because Shining Stripe was devoted to him, fell in love with him first, pursued him, got into a relationship with him, and then very slowly, while waiting for Icicle Speck to catch up, started losing those feelings more and more and more. And now when Shining Stripe, I think, has all but given up on his love, Icicle Speck has realized that he's fallen for Shining Stripe. Their timing, though, is so off with one another, but that's something I noticed with him. There was nothing too interesting with Inkfeather, nothing of note with Bear Pelt, nothing of note with Shining Stripe, but look, his romance for Icicle Speck is the same as it was. Like, nothing's shifted, nothing's changed. That patrol might have been kind of, nice for the two of them, a nice way for them to spend time with one another, but at the end of the day, I think Shining Stripe has had way too many realizations about Icicle Speck, and I feel like it would take something very serious for him to get back on the same track that he was. And the version of Icicle Speck I think he has seen over the past several moons has made him kind of lose that initial spark that he had. Flare Freckle, nothing of note I noticed with her. Magpie, nothing too much of note, but she is getting to know some of the other cats a little bit more, like Ghost Paw. Quill Runner, nothing of note with him. Frost Fades, nothing new with him. Then we have, Fox Paw over here, Ghost Paw, and Scorch Moss. Everything is largely the same with Scorch Moss as well. But that's all we have for relationships. I'm excited to check out our matchmaking and see how this session goes, so can we get to it? Okay, Inkfeather, let's pull out Flailstorm and Magpie and see if things continue to improve with them. Yes! Romantic interest, comfort increased, dislike decreased. Okay, so I think Inkfeather as a little cat is really being able to relate to Magpie and help facilitate this matchmaking session. But for Flailstorm, yeah, I think the more he's getting to know Magpie, he's really enjoying her company. He can definitely see himself having a litter with her and having, hopefully, happy family. But you know what? Because Flailstorm is childish, I mean, obviously this is still a formal arrangement between the two of them, but Flailstorm, I think, a part of him, I reckon, has always been envious of what Buttercup Finn had with her children. And I think he wants that same thing. Like, he wants to have a loving family with his offspring, right? Because I think Buttercup Finn, as much as he loved her, did break his heart. And she was disloyal in a lot of ways. Maybe Flailstorm feels as though the only family that can never be disloyal to you are your children. So I think when he sees Magpie, he's probably thinking that she's probably the ideal cat for him to have that dream with, right? This obviously doesn't mean, at this point in time, that he views this as anything more than a formal arrangement, but it's a formal arrangement that's going to get him what he wants. Magpie, meanwhile, I think, is the more she's getting to know Flailstorm, the more appealing he is starting to seem for, similar reasons. But for her, obviously loyalty is not an issue. I think maybe she was a little bit worried initially that she was not going to get along well with an older cat, and they might be at different stages in life emotionally. but because Flailstorm is so childish, she doesn't feel as though there's a huge gap between them, and she really likes that about him because she can talk to him about a lot of things and relate to him, and he seems fun to be around. He's not as stoic and serious as she thought he might be. And I think when Magpie probably met the king, a part of her felt that he was a little bit overbearing. She was worried Flailstorm, whoever she was going to be paired with, was going to be the same, but Flailstorm isn't, so she likes that. Which makes me very, very happy. So okay, this was excellent. Now let's go ahead and see what everyone's doing for the day. King Fernstar is fetching Quillrunner for another cat who is looking for him. Flailstorm is finding Flarefreckle annoying. Yeah, he's moved on from Buttercup Fin, but he's still holding on to his hatred for Flarefreckle over the childish ordeal that happened with Buttercup Fin's death. Icicle Speck is making sure no work is being shirked. Inkfeather is eavesdropping on Flarefreckle. Bearpelt is sitting in the shade trying to hide from the heat. I mean, Inkfeather just had a matchmaking session with like Flailstorm and Magpie, and maybe Flailstorm, like when he left, he was like talking, rambling about Flarefreckle being annoying, and so Inkfeather's eavesdropping on Flarefreckle to see like, what is she doing that's so annoying. Bearpelt is sitting in the shade trying to hide from the heat. Shining Stripe wonders how Ghostpaw is doing. Flarefreckle is bounding through the territory, scaring away all the prey. Magpie is worried Quillrunner is overworking himself. Quillrunner is enjoying the warmth of Greenleaf. Frostfade wants to compliment Flarefreckle's fighting techniques. Look at that, being so supportive of his mother. I mean, right now, he and his mother are the only two mentors right now. So I kind of love this dynamic, them spending even more time than they already do with each other, probably to figure out better ways to teach their apprentices. Foxpaw had a nightmare involving a two-leg trap. Ghostpaw saves the softest bedding for his own nest. Scorchmoss doesn't seem to notice another cat roll their eyes as she complains about her aching joints. Again. That's mean. Whoever's rolling their eyes, that's mean. Scorchmoss has worked for a long time. She's done a lot. She's had a very difficult life, losing her mates and all her children. So, you know, if she's in the Eldest Den, if she's complaining about some aching joints, don't roll your eyes at her. Go get us some herbs. Also, I feel, even though Scorchmoss has had a very tragic life, I feel very happy that at least her former apprentice Flarefreckle is thriving. That makes me happy, because in a way it feels like a part of Scorchmoss is also thriving. Okay, now let's check out the rankings for the youngsters and see like how they're doing. Foxpaw is still currently in line to be the next prince. He has 24 experience and his brother has 19. Yeah, Foxpaw is kind of zooming ahead and definitely taking full advantage of the very strange ways, interesting ways, adventurous ways his mentor has to teach. But okay, that's what we have for the cat list. Let me cut the recording here and we'll continue with patrols. Okay, let's continue with our patrols. We currently have 77.9 prey. We need 32.5 so we don't have to worry about food. Our Royal Physician Icicle Speck is going to go out first and see what he can find. Once Mullen starts to tower over the other plants, it's a good time to harvest it. Proceed. Icicle Speck spots the mullen plants by scrambling up onto a low rock and looking for their sapling-like fat towering stems, starting to poke all over the other plants. He hops down, trots over, and harvests them. So mullen was gathered. We're going to have a patrol of 6 and a patrol of 3, so let's see how that goes. Okay, so this time around, it seems as though, even though the king, in the end, gave in to Frostfade a little bit, saying that, you know, fine, use whatever technique you want to teach like Foxpaw, as long as he is learning from it and enjoying the experience. And Frostfade, I think he was relieved that the king was letting him be the mentor that he's supposed to be. But I guess he decided to keep a little bit of the peace because he is going to be sending his apprentice to be supervised by Flare Freckle alongside Ghost Paw in the bigger patrol. Yeah, he's volunteered to go to the smaller patrol, but just to keep the peace a little bit. He thinks that Foxpaw is going to get good experience, have a little bit of an adventure away from his mentor, and come back to him to say what kind of things he observed, but also he's letting the king have a little bit of peace by saying, I'll send your son on the big patrol just to make you feel extra secure. And then we have Magpie over here, Quill Runner, and Flailstorm. So let's see what they get up to. The patrol catches the scent of a fox, but is it red or grey? Tracking it, they find the red enemy feeding on a deer fawn carcass. It's impossible to say whether the fox killed it or found it. Proceed. Quill Runner shows his strength, leading the fight against the fox. By working together and keeping it distracted, the cats harry and harass the fox until Quill Runner lands a crucial blow, snapping a tendon in one of the fox's hind legs. The fox runs, but there's no way it'll live long with such a debilitating injury. A medium amount of prey is brought to camp. Look at Quill Runner. I think this he would view as a little bit of a redemption for him, being able to fight the fox. Especially after the ambush and the death of Houndpaw, which I don't think the cats blame him for, because it was definitely not something they were prepared for. I mean, they had good fighters there, but they tried their best, but it was an ambush, probably with a bigger group of rogue cats. So I don't think they blame Quill Runner, but Quill Runner probably felt some guilt, and he's slowly working through all of that. And then we have Frostfade, Shining Stripe, and Bear Pelt. So let's see what they get up to. So it's Frostfade with his uncles. I love this. Bear Pelt wanders past an old badger set in the roots of a hazelnut tree only to freeze. There's a new scent here, acrid and sour. Proceed. Bear Pelt organizes the patrol, and together they lift a long skinny branch from the forest floor, shoving the end into the set. With half the branch's length to go, there's an outraged explosion of fizzing from the depths of the burrow. The patrol retreats to report back to camp. With any luck, it's been injured, but no one wants to check. Okay, look at Bear Pelt, normally shameless, but being very responsible over here, and making sure that nobody gets in any unexpected trouble. So good on him, and that's what we have. Oh wait, our food is 121.1, so yeah, we have a ton. But that's all we had for this episode, guys. It was pretty decent, I think. We had a really good matchmaking session. The patrols went well. I feel like the apprentices gained some important experience. But okay, with that said and done, I'm going to leave off here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.